Hello! Today's video is about the self-portrait I did in the theme of Snow White. I'm going to take you through everything and show you how I got from this to this and everything in between. First of all, you're going to need to know what stuff I used, which was a camera, a plain backdrop, an apple, some leaves and twigs, a remote control, my outfit, and of course a wig. I went for a walk to the local park to get some shots of foliage and to pick up some leaves and twigs. Then I came home and got my makeup on, simple red lips and black eyeliner. I chose an outfit that was sort of Snow White but a modern twist, and then I put on my black wig as I don't have black hair. My setup is in my living room. I've got two constant lights. I'll leave the link to those in the description box down below. I've got my remote set up on a 2-second timer, and I've placed the leaves and twigs around me just to give a little bit of something to ground me to the image. You don't want to look too stuck on, so having a few little bits and bobs in front of you can just help with the overall compositing process. Time to edit. The software I'm using is Photoshop CS6. When I looked at the original images, I preferred the face of one and the arm of the other, so I wanted to take the face from this one and put it onto the other one because I liked the arm position better. That's just a simple select and drag it over onto the new image. You just want to try and find the right place and then put it on a 50% opacity to get it more or less in a natural position. Obviously with the body being slightly different, you're going to have to find the happy medium between the two. So a little bit of tweaking, and then you can start masking out any of the bits that you don't want. The collar in this instance proved quite difficult because it was all scrunched up in the one image and not in the other, so I had to sort of do a little bit of extra manipulation to try and just get that to fit well. So a little bit of extra masking, a little bit of extra photoshopping. I prefer masking to erasing in this situation because it just helps to avoid those little mistakes if you just erase too much. I then went on to do a retouch, just basic patch tool, a little bit of liquify just to tuck in a few pointy elbows and such, and then cropped the image down to a little bit of a tighter format. Obviously there's my remote, just going to whiz that out quickly. Then as my top is dark grey and Snow White wears navy, I wanted to just change the colour, so that's just a simple adjustment layer. Just dropped the lightness a little bit and added in the blue, and then I'm going to go and mask out all those little areas that I don't want the blue effect on. I'm going to use a set of actions now from Greater Than Gatsby. I will link those down below. They're all separate actions, but I've created an action of those actions, and I use it in almost all my images for eyes. I do tweak them a little tiny bit, but it's a great set of actions, and I'll leave the link in the description box for those. I basically darken the lashes. I always whiten the eyes. I want to bring those out, make them pop. I then lighten the iris a little bit and then darken the rim. That again just gives them a little bit extra pop. And then occasionally I will change the colour here if I need to. In this instance I'm just leaving my natural sort of greeny grey eye colour. Next is dodge and burn. I've got an action set up which I'll show you how to do now. It just makes making the layers a little bit easier. So you open a new layer box, you want it to be grey and you want it to have the mode as overlay, and then check the box fill with overlay neutral colour 50% grey. I've set up an action to do this twice. One layer will be my dodge layer and one layer will be my burn. And basically I'm going to go over all the highlight areas with the dodge tool just to make them a little bit lighter, and then I'm going to do on the other layer all the burn areas, which are going to be the shadows. It just brings a little bit more contrast into the image, and you can get quite a sort of airbrushed look if you do this. I'm going to use a blend if now. I'll do a separate video on this if anyone's interested, but basically you're telling the layer to blend the highlights layer where it's in the shadows, and then on the shadows layer you're telling it to blend where it touches the highlights. It just gives an overall more realistic look with a softer line between the dodge areas and the burn areas. I then reduce the overall opacity of the group once I've grouped my dodge and burn layers together, to find that sweet spot where you've got the highlights but it's not too over the top. Next, I got some images from Pexels. This is a website that is all pictures are free for personal and commercial use. I'll put a link to the ones that I chose for this below, and I've also got a few images that I took from my little trip to the park earlier on. I'm selecting the background now. I want to get rid of the plain background, which is why we chose a plain one. It makes it much easier. And I'm going to start dropping in my backgrounds. If I'm perfectly honest, I didn't really know how this was going to turn out, or really which backdrops I wanted to use. So there's a lot of trial and error going on. I'm just masking out each layer, building it up. As you can see, I've clicked a little bit ahead there, making sure all the colours sort of match. I want blues and green tones. I don't want too much bright yellows. And the further I go, the more I'm blending, the more I'm adding adjustment layers on and changing the colours. And just as you see a distraction, you just want to dull it down, change the colours, change the contrast. The brush I'm using here is actually already in Photoshop. It's got a nice scatter on it, so you don't get very even lines. So a little bit of that just helped blend me into the grass a little bit better. Then these are pictures of leaves that I took and cut out in advance, and I'm just popping them on just to not really blend into the background, but just to give it a little bit more interest. Instead of it just being a blurry grassy mess, I just wanted a little bit more going on. It's not really very obvious, but it doesn't need to be obvious to matter. You just don't want one big blurry mess in the foreground. So I've added some leaves, added some bits and bobs around me, just to make it look a little bit more realistic, or hopefully. So now I'm just darkening me down as a whole, and then erasing back around my face, because that's where I want the focus to be. When you zoom out of an image and your eye is drawn to a particular bit, if it's not the face or the focal point of the image, then you don't want that. I've taken the image now into Alien Skin. I'll leave a link to this software down below. It's got a lot of film looking filters, very nice filters. I never know which one I want to use, but quite often I end up going for Color Photo, which is the particular filter I used here. I just really like the look it gives, especially on a darker image. A few little last minute tweaks, anything that's distracting me I'm just taking out here. And then again, I just want a vignette around the edge, just a little bit more, just to bring the focus to the center, which is the face and the apple. That's where you want your eye to be drawn to. Thanks for watching this video. Here's the before and the after. I hope you liked the final result and enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I'd really like to hear from you if there's any other ideas for portraits you'd like to give me, or if there's anything you'd like me to go into more detail about. I'm planning on making one video a month with a different self-portrait, but I'm quite happy to do smaller videos in between explaining specific techniques. If there's anything you'd like to ask, please leave it in the comments down below. And of course, a thumbs up and a subscribe really helps the channel grow. I appreciate it. Until next time, thanks. Bye.